if you want to understand a little, not all at once, but little by little until it hits you in the ear and in the mind and the heart, why Ivan was crushed. Well, Stalin, who loved music, and by the way, Stalin loved to hear Jadan sing. Wonderful irony, just as Hitler loved vodka. Being a criminal dictator doesn't mean you don't love music. It just means a few other things that we don't get into now. So, Ivan was crushed musically, historically, and almost totally. And the only reason today there is anything more than a personal opinion from someone, yes, I loved him, obviously, but more than that, that's not good enough. That's just sweet, like a little museum of memoirs. This is not that kind of a museum. It's a museum musicologically viable and significant long after I'm gone, because the voice and what that voice sings and how is unable to be understood by people who have not first heard a truly, or don't say truly, unique voice. All right, how do we hear it? There are a few recordings. I have altogether now 3816 and 4 more. I am recovering from the ashes, literally, of the past recordings that are coming up, you know, like a phoenix bird. And here we hear Ivan singing, thanks to different people in incredibly different locations. A Welshman from Scotland coming up with the role of Tsar Berinjay in The Snow Maiden, the opera of Rimsky-Korsakov. And we have that on a CD now. We have the role of Dubrovsky. Nobody knows that opera. It's a great opera. We have many other roles that are well known. And we have pictures here at the Bolshoi. My husband was Abel's son, Vladik, the son, retrieved from the Bolshoi files, archives. An old photographer there who loved Jadan had saved them when he was ordered to destroy them. And Vladik got them. And here he is as the Duke in Rigoletto. And he sings that now, not only in Russian, but in perfect Italian, which you hear. That's another story. The roles, the first role he ever sang is interesting, and this is from the Bolshoi files. This is Jadan sing Lakme. That's the bell song from Lakme, you may know, you may not, Delib, the opera. But he was chosen, this was his first role, because he had the best physique of any of the tenors at that time. And he went on from there up the scale rather fast. But we have that one. And here he is, you know, all dressed up, looking as black as possible. And it's interesting that coming to St. John, he can talk about his first role as a black man in a French opera in Moscow. The costume that he wears in the opera The Snow Maiden, the fairy tale opera that Rimsky-Korsakov wrote, in which the love of nature is and the love of God as one way to understand life, beauty. You hear in the exquisite diction that his coach Stanislavski so admired. You hear that here, and you can see it in the costume he wore, which was adorned with pretty good-looking pearls, and it had been worn by the great tenor earlier, Sobinov, who was outsung and outshouted, actually, by Jadan. But how do we have this? The son got it from a man in the Bolshoi theater who had not been afraid to save it. And then I heard from the son's wife, who's still alive, at only 82 or 3, in Moscow. She said, Doris, she tells me in Russian, we used to go after the opera. We would go up, me and my friends who were studying the ballet, we would go up at age 12, 13, after Jadan sang. They were the little clique of devotees just to touch the pearls on the costume of Ivan Jadan, and in that way get close enough to touch this radiant, lovable, loving reality. And she's never lost that feeling. I mean, she plays the CDs now as though she too were 12 years old. But for most Russians, that was lost. So it became necessary to find a way, and thank God I was able to find many ways to help bring the voice. Thank God for the technology of those doing the digitization today, and it improves every year. We are able to hear that voice as I heard it in its early prime in Germany, in Weilheim, Germany, where I first heard him, and later in Salzburg, where we lived in a very dangerous, strange situation, and eventually then in New York, where his life was in great danger, and I have no recordings of that, town hall, believe it, but in Florida then, again, records. So here we are with records over 20 years, 30 years, coming up, and just a few months ago, the newest, in many ways most exciting CD, just 4 items, 4 songs for freedom, which come out of Berlin in 1944. Hey, you're talking about this man, he's a freedom fighter. He's in fascist Germany. He's in the Nazi time. Is he a Nazi? People have a very simplistic misunderstanding of what happened during and after World War II as far as millions of refugees like Ivan were fighting for. So these songs were recorded by the Germans, Deutsche Grammophon, for crying out loud. They're so ashamed now that they may be accused of being fascist for having recorded them. They say they don't exist. And it's such great fun when you go through archival research. And something that they said was impossible, couldn't exist, hey, here it is. And we have several of those recordings. So we know if we have several, there can be, we hope there are more. So this is where we try to attract the interest of who knows who comes in. A man from Prague came from Gallows Point. He's in Prague now trying to find recordings made there in those crucial days. The research goes on. So the research is not just archival preservation. Yes, preservation. But beyond that, where does it leap out? I mean, it's more than any jack-in-the-box we have to find some beautiful, forgotten, rediscovered voice, person, and idea. Freedom for Ivan, for John, as it was for Plato, as it is for whoever is listening, whomever. Freedom is an idea. And here it is. And if I may take just a few minutes, I'd like to play for you this recording made by Ivan Jadan in Berlin in 1944 and brought to this amazing new life through the skill of an acoustical engineer who's a member of the museum staff, who has been coming here and who did this out of love. He spent who knows how many hours, but just listen to the result. You will hear the presence of a voice, a timbre, a breath control, and a kind of singing that does not exist any longer. Many people from the Met have come to tell me this, people from all over. You listen, you don't have to be a scholar. Just listen with the ears of your heart. This song of Rachmaninoff is U moje okno, which means at my window. I heard Ivan John sing this many times, right here even, looking out the window here when it was open, before it was a museum, and looking at the flowers. In the song, the poet, Rachmaninoff, is singing, I look through the window in the cold mist and penetrating the dark or dim fog, I catch the aroma, sladký aromat of the flower. It's a brief song. And then, as he's almost holding his breath, he says, the flower sings songs of love without words. Ani piesin ki payut, yes, slov. Would you like to hear it?